is 9:30 a.m. and today is Thursday, October 1st. My name is Brian Zumwalt. I'm the director of the county's Office of Technology and Innovation, and I'll be playing the role of technology moderator for today's virtual meeting. On the panel with me is Don Kroll from the county attorney's office, and Don will be serving as process moderator. Before we start the meeting, let's do a quick roll call and make sure we've got adequate communications, and then we can get started. Commissioner Eggers.
I'm here and I'll be chairing the meeting this morning. Commissioner Gerard is at a medical appointment this morning, so she won't be joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Seal.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioner Welch.
Good morning, folks.
Morning, sir. Commissioner Long.
I'm here.
Commissioner Justice.
Good morning.
And Commissioner Peters.
Good morning, Brian.
All right, Mr. Chairman, hand the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. We, as everybody knows, today is a workshop. The local state of emergency has been extended for the following week by the county administrator. So today we'll be dealing with 3 items. David Green, the executive director of the Tbarda, is in the house, and he'll be doing a presentation on Envision 2030. And then we have a CARES Act report, which is kind of a beginning of a summary of information, financial information, which Aubrey Phillips from OMB will kind of give us a briefing on some information that they've made available for folks to look at. So you'll be able to go take a look at it today over the weekend. And if you have any comments you want to make to the board, you can do that on Tuesday at our regularly scheduled commission meeting. And then the final thing we'll be doing is just a regular agenda briefing or preparation for the Tuesday meeting. So those are the 3 items today. And Barry, I'll turn it over to you for any comments that you might have.
Good morning, everyone. Let's just go ahead and start. Then I'll get into some of the CARES Act funding, the extension of the state of emergency as when we do the CARES Act funding, and just keep it all under that. The first item we have is David Green. I'll turn it over to him for his Envision 2030 plan. That is a statutorily required plan update that they need to provide to the commission. We've been trying to schedule him in, and so I appreciate him being patient with us, but that's the first item that we have on the agenda for today. David.
Thank you, Barry. Good morning, everybody, and go Rays. I'm David Green, Executive Director of Tbarda, and I want to thank you all for having us on your agenda today. I believe you're all familiar with the background of this, that the reshaping of Tbarda as a regional transit authority in 2017 gave us responsibility to develop a regional transit development plan, which is Tampa Bay's first such plan. And we worked on that for about 18 months, and Tbarda's board adopted it at our June board meeting. We subsequently submitted it to FDOT and the legislature and have since been presenting it to each of the 5 boards of county commissioners. Bill Ball from Tyndale Oliver was the lead consultant for the project. So at this point, I will turn it over to him to review the presentation with you.
Thank you, David. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is Bill Ball with Tyndale Oliver, and I'm pleased to be here representing Tbarda today. Again, as David indicated, this is the first ever regional transit development plan, Envision 2030. Next slide. In addition to it being a legislative requirement, more importantly, it's the opportunity for the region to collaborate on the future of transit in the region and regional transit connectivity and how we put on ourselves on a path to get there. Next slide. We did work very closely with the key regional partners, which is of course the 5 local transit operators, the 5 MPOs, and the Florida DOT. Throughout this planning process, you can see all of the local bus services that are indicated on the slide here to the left. Next slide. So why do we work on Envision 2030? What this slide shows is a number of values and benefits to the region as it relates to having a more robust regional transit investment. I'm not going to go into each of these in detail, but I will talk about 2 of them in greater detail in the next couple of slides. Bottom line is working on job access, regional competitiveness, and a more robust regional transit network to support the citizens and visitors of the region. Next slide. So this is the first one I'll talk about in greater detail, which is regional job access. The University of Minnesota did an independent assessment of if we were to implement Envision 2030, what would the impact be on job access? And there's no doubt there would be a substantial increase in the number of jobs that the average resident would have access to through the implementation of these services. In particular, it's a significant benefit to the low to moderate income areas of the region, where they would have substantially more jobs available to within their reach through this transportation network. Next slide. The Tampa Bay Partnership does an annual assessment of how Tampa Bay ranks and competes with other regions around the country. What you see on here is just some of the more significant indicators that we pulled from that effort. The areas in red basically indicate that Tampa Bay does not rank very well at all when you compare them to these other regions around the country. That includes transit measures, bike and ped safety, as well as housing and transportation affordability. So the whole object here is for that more robust regional transit investment would help make this region much more competitive than they are today. Next slide. We feel good about the public and stakeholder engagement process. We reached well over 10,000 people in the months leading up to the adoption of the plan. And there's some techniques that are indicated in greater detail on this slide. Next slide. The bottom line, Tbarda has two top priorities, and this has evolved some over time and how we emphasize this, but the number one priority is to increase the total transit funding that comes to the Tampa Bay region, whether that be for local services or regional services, but all contributing to a more robust regional transit network. The second one is to build consensus with the local partners on how Tbarda can best support making progress towards this regional transit vision and more progress towards more total transit funding in the region. Next slide. We did look at other peer regions in greater detail around the country, look at their best practices and lessons learned. Historically, these regions have been more successful in securing more federal transit funding. So we wanted to learn from those experiences, and we took those examples and tried to determine which one had the best applicability for the Tampa Bay area. Next slide. So we went through a process of developing that regional transit vision, and we didn't recreate everything either. We relied heavily on the local agency transit plans, the TDPs locally, as well as the MPO long-range transportation plans, the outreach efforts that we conducted, as well as some additional technical evaluation to help set priorities. And all of that was used to bring together what we have today in the regional transit vision, which is on the next slide. This shows that regional transit vision network. It's basically a variety of transit services and technologies, ranging from regional rapid transit to passenger ferry to the commuter services that Tbarda offers today. But you can see the network basically provides that regional transit connectivity throughout the 5-county area. Next slide. Now that we have that regional transit vision in mind, we wanted to step back and think about now what progress can we make in the next 10 years, which is Envision 2030. What we did is we put together 3 investment scenarios and basically tried to describe what levels of progress we could make in that 10-year period. The first scenario, status quo, basically Tbarda would continue to provide the commuter services, Commute Tampa Bay, as well as continuing that regional transit planning focus and continuing to be an advocate for transit funding increases in the region. Number 2, we're calling it a lower impact scenario. Basically, Tbarda pursuing new transit funding that could help improve and enhance existing regional express bus services. And then number 3 was more of a higher impact scenario where we would have a more substantial investment in regional transit, including the first phase of regional rapid transit. And that first phase would be a connection between downtown St. Pete and downtown Tampa. And then some implementations of some new regional express bus routes connecting to the other counties in the 5-county area. Next slide. And this gives you a visual of what that scenario 3 would look like and how it reaches each of the 5 counties in the region. While this scenario is unfunded at this point in time, this just gives you a sense of what we could potentially accomplish if funding were available to implement scenario 3. Next slide. So the tough part of all of this is the funding. Let's look first at operating and costs and revenues. If you look over that next 10-year period, Tbarda has about $42 million available in existing revenue sources. This slide shows what the cost of each of those scenarios would be on the operating side. So you can see, of course, that status quo is balanced and that we have an increasing unfunded plan for each of the other scenarios, depending on which of those that we implement. So it gives you a sense of what the cost would be of each of those scenarios. Next slide. Similar here is the capital side, pretty much balanced because there's not a significant capital investment in status quo and low impact. When we get to the high impact, where we have that more substantial investment in the regional rapid transit project, is where we have a significant capital deficit in the funding that we have today. Next slide. So let's talk a little bit about the existing funding that Tbarda has today. If you look at over the next 10 years with existing revenue sources, Tbarda has about $42 million in operating funding, about $10 million in capital, and you can see in the white and blue portions that the bulk of these revenues are from state and federal funding sources. The gold area, which is the local contribution, is the amount that's currently contributed by the 5 counties, which is a little over $5 million over that 10-year period. On the next slide, you'll see the annual contribution made by the counties, which accumulates to about $550,000 per year with the existing contribution. And it's basically distributed amongst the 5 counties based on population, with Pinellas being about 154,000 in the current scenario. Next slide. So no surprise that funding is the biggest challenge for Tbarda, and it is the biggest challenge for transit throughout the region, whether it be local or regional. But Tbarda's charge is to pursue dedicated funding from the state from 2 perspectives: the operations of the agency itself, and then secondly is the implementation of regional transit projects. So Tbarda will be continuing to work with the local partners. Some progress has already been made in discussions of the board and its committees to talk about how we work to increase total transit funding to the region, or in recent discussions, increase the flexibility of the funding sources that we already have today. Next slide. Now, we did put some recommendation and calls to action together in 3 categories to help facilitate those discussions, and I'll talk briefly about each one of these. Next slide. First is the policy call to action. Straightforward. Tbarda has already adopted the Envision 2030 plan back in June. So the challenge is for Tbarda to continue to work on demonstrating the value and benefit that they bring to each of the counties in the region. So we get them on board to support this plan as much as the board does today. So there's efforts that are in place to convene some additional discussions with the local partners on the best ways to move forward. Next slide. Of course, funding is the key call to action. Again, exploring opportunities to leverage new state and federal transit funding, and as well as the flexibility of the existing funding sources that we have today. And then the action items that may be required could include legislative change at the state level as well. Next slide. Commitment and collaboration is the final one. And the bottom line is continuing to educate the community, educate all of the agencies, inspire support from the business community, or expanding on the support that we already have, as well as the grassroots support. And then basically continuing to communicate over time so that we continue that conversation going forward as we put together the specific action items to pursue funding in the future. Next slide. This just reiterates those values and benefits I started the presentation with. Again, the most important ones being increase in regional job access, increase in regional competitiveness, and just a more robust ability to provide regional transit mobility throughout the 5-county area. Next slide. The Tbarda board, again, did adopt the plan back in June with 3 major components of that adoption that are indicated on this slide. Number 1, they adopted the unfunded regional transit network that I presented earlier today, with the understanding that's what we want to work towards, but also recognizing that it's unfunded today. Number 2, they adopted the status quo scenario, which was basically the only scenario that we can fund with existing revenue sources. And then number 3, they supported continued discussion and evaluation of the calls to action and the recommendation, as they've already started those discussions with local partners today. So they will continue to move that forward and finding the best ways to collaborate with local partners on the best actions going forward. Next slide. Now, we have presented to all of the other commissions. This is the final presentation, the fifth commission presentation, and many of the MPOs as well as the Chair's Coordinating Committee. So we're really just trying to get the word out, more education about the plan, and to respond to questions and comments. And stay tuned as Tbarda continues to look for future opportunities to collaborate between the board and the local partners in the area. Next slide. Obviously, a lot more to this in details on the website. There's a full plan there. More importantly, there's an executive summary if you'd like to read a more of a summarized version of the plan itself. That's available for you on the website as well. Of course, David and I are here to answer any questions that you have, and we appreciate the opportunity to come before the commission today. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that presentation. And David, thank you. And of course, it's always good to have you with us. Any of the commissioners have any comments or questions for the gentleman this morning?
I don't know if you can see, Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
I don't see you, but I go ahead, Ken.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, David and Bill, for the presentation. I had a general question regarding telework and the impact of telework. If you are familiar with Invest Tampa Bay, I attended that event about a month ago, and it was interesting. They had a panel of legal firms, and one of those firms was going to reduce their office footprint by some 40 to 60% based on the success of telework, how they're able to work so well virtually. And while that might not be the trend nationwide, you have heard of other companies that are going to allow a substantial part of their workforce to work virtually. Has Tbarda looked at that impact, the impact of telework on transit, or is the determination that most of the transit consumers aren't in jobs that can then utilize telework heavily? Have y'all looked at that or talked about it?
We have not studied it, but I'm hearing and reading the same things that you are throughout the industry. Telework has always been a thing. It's always existed, but it's been a very low percentage of employees that took advantage of it, because it seemed like employers were reluctant to move in that direction. But one thing that COVID has taught us all is that we figured out how employees can be productive while teleworking. So, it is something that employers are contemplating moving forward, even, after the virus and as things potentially start to go back to normal. But I think a lot of employees will ask their employers and talk to them about continuing to work from home in some form or fashion. Might not be 5 days a week, but it might be 2 or 3 days a week, and then going into the office for the remainder of the time. Essential employees obviously will always have a need for transit. Those are the folks where transit plays a critical role in them being able to live their lives, to continue to pay their rent and their bills and put food on their table. They have to get to work. So transit is very essential for these folks. Those who are fortunate to telework are potentially looking at other options. Micro transit is something that people are starting to talk a little bit more about, as opposed to maybe gravitating back to the legacy systems like fixed route bus service or rail service or subways. Is there some form of micro transit that might make a little bit more sense to them? And how can they best feel safe? Contactless payment is something that people are interested in as well. So all of those are topics that are being discussed throughout the industry, and transit agencies everywhere are trying to work with their local populations to figure that out.
Good. Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Welch, I might add that it does present an opportunity for Tbarda with their Commute Tampa Bay program, because part of their charge is to educate employers on the ability to provide telework options. So they've been able to help fill that niche as more and more companies have had to use it this year.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, no problem. Bill, just a quick question on the collaboration with local partners. Obviously, I know we're not doing this in a vacuum, and we're including the business community. Yeah, from my perspective, as you talk to folks that are out there and you're trying to build support for transit, clearly government has its role, but the business community has really been clamoring for more transit as well. So that effort is still, I assume that partnership, if you will, is still ongoing, and it's part of the presentation to folks as we try to build consensus among users and the community.
I mean, I got to start, David, if you, and then maybe you can add, but we did spend quite a bit of time talking with the Tampa Bay partnership, with different chambers in the region, and coordinating with them along the way. They clearly support the concept of a more robust regional transit network. The whole challenge, again, ties back to how we fund it. So I think we have their support. We need to provide some options for them to help support in terms of what legislative change or what opportunities we have to increase the funding availability that comes to the Tampa Bay region to make it happen.
Do we have efforts that, you know, like you pick a chamber, for instance, and they have members? Do we have information that surveys or, you know, that show that kind of support? Actual, like, business number one in chamber number one have about 50 employees, of which 10 currently use it, and, you know, are we drilling down like that to show that grassroots support that's out there? I mean, other than just kind of top down assuming studies and things, are we kind of getting that kind of feedback?
I don't know if we have it to the level that you're talking about there. So that is a need probably to drill down further to judge the support at the business level as opposed to the group that speaks for them or on behalf of them.
Yeah, it wouldn't. I don't think it would take much. Each of these executive directors for the chambers have a pretty good handle, and, you know, to be able to do a survey among their membership, I think would be, again, it probably couldn't be, you know, cover everything, but at least it would give a sense of, you know, where that's coming from and where the needs are, the types of jobs that we're looking at that are commuting, others that would be more teleworking, as Commissioner Welch asked. So any other questions, comments from any of the board members? Okay. Just one other question we have obviously an affordable housing challenge throughout the Tampa Bay area. So we're all working really hard to create more of that, so that whether it's affordable or workforce housing, keeping people in the county that they're living in for sure, and maybe not having to commute so much from, like, the folks that have to go up and live in Pasco County that commute back. Is that element also being looked at as part of the, I guess, the demand that we see going forward? It may change from an inter county demand versus more intra county. Is there an element of that that you all look at?
Sure. In fact, that was the key conclusion that we got from the Tampa Bay Partnership's annual assessment of competitiveness, is where Tampa Bay is falling short. So that reinforces what you're saying, is the concern about it. So there's a couple of ways of looking at that. We can locate transportation and transit service to respond to where affordable housing is located. But we also can look at future affordable housing being located in ways that can be effectively served by existing transit services. So I think it needs to affect from both angles, so that we start collaborating better when we're planning where new facilities or new housing goes, where new future transit services go, so they are in line better in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Well, in any event, the more that we can get grassroots feedback, I think it continues to build that story of demand and acceptability on lots of dollars that'll be used to encourage more transit use. So I think I'm sure it's an ongoing effort, but so, okay, last chance. Anybody? I guess that's all we have, Bill. Thank you. And Dave, thank you for being here this morning. Look forward to hearing more from you as time goes.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to move into item 2, which is the CARES Act report. And Barry, you want to make some comments on this?
Sure. As you know, commissioners, you delegated the extension to me for the interim weeks of, and so I'll be assigning the extension for the next week. One of the things that's been brought up, though, is, in alignment with this, is the CARES Act funding. We've obviously been working on a lot of programs that you approved, and many of those are just now getting to roll out. For instance, reimbursements to the cities. I'll be outlining, and I have a meeting with them tomorrow with the city managers regarding that. There's several interim steps that needed to occur. Aubrey and her team have worked very, very hard, and staff throughout the county on various components of this rollout of our CARES Act funding. And so I'd asked her to do two things. One, provide you a summary of where we're at for the different varying pieces of the program. And two, also to put, there's been some question raised about, the dollars. Well, first, there is a check registry for every expenditure that comes out of the county. And so it has been on our website through the circuit court clerk and our comptroller. However, that's not easy to navigate or find as a overall program summary. So Aubrey pulled together a summary document that we have now posted to our website that has that rolls up the cost into two different formats to where it can make it easier for people to see where the programs are, how they're doing, where the dollars are going. So she just launched that this morning, and it's been a work in progress. It's a lot of work in addition to running all the various programs. But I'd ask her to come and kind of summarize all this for you. She's been working night and day, and I really, really appreciate all of her efforts. So wanted her just maybe to outline where we're at, the programs, and some of the things coming up. So
Okay,
Aubrey.
Thank you. Welcome, Aubrey.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen here to pull the web page up, and I'm going to start on the Pinellas CARES website because that's easy to get to. It's cares.pinellas.gov for anyone who's following along. And on that page, which has been up for a while and has all the information about each of the Pinellas CARES community grant programs, at the bottom, we've added the link to the CARES and COVID-19 expenditures webpage. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll see we start with an overview of COVID-19 spending to date. Now, this is not inclusive of every county expenditure. We don't have sheriff's costs reflected in here, but we tried to capture those costs for the Board of County Commissioner departments and some of the other key costs that we've had.
And sorry to interrupt, Aubrey, but
No, go ahead.
one of the things we've done for all of the expenditures that we've had, we're holding off on assigning them because we may just go after FEMA dollars for those costs versus out of the CARES Act funding. And so some of that will come at the end as kind of a true up with us and the cities. But just so you know, kind of how we're approaching that, and that's consistent with the way we're handling our expenses and cities' requests for reimbursement.
And I'll show you as we go through the report where those costs are reflected currently. And really my intent this morning is to orient you. I know as good as anybody how much information this is to try to wrap your head around. And we've tried to present it in a way that's clear and straightforward, but it's a lot to try to communicate. So want to make sure we orient you all. So we start out with the Pinellas CARES programs. This is the same information that's been shared with you at previous updates on the CARES programs. So walking through each of the programs, when it launched, the estimated program investments. So those are the estimated investments that you approved back in July for the new CARES programs, how many payments and households have been approved, and how many dollars awarded to date. And so we follow that similar format for each of the CARES programs. This is, again, similar information to what you've been seeing in your updates. We've just put it on the website so that it can be updated and more easily accessible for folks.
Aubrey,
Yes.
one second, Barry, just to these different programs, and one of the questions that we keep asking, and I know the federal government are the decision makers on this, but the extension of the deadline, I guess, is 12/31, currently 2020, and obviously we're looking for an extension there. If we don't get that, each of these programs are going to have, I'm assuming, and we'll be telling people ahead of time, cutoff dates for applications so that they can be processed by the end of the calendar year. Have you started to think about what those cutoff dates would be for each of these programs?
We have, and that's on Aubrey's plate. Unfortunately, she's also thought about, and she's got a plan for when do we have to cut it out. Some of this requires some clarification. So for instance, if the expenditure was made December 30th, can we still get reimbursement, after that date? It's very clear from a government standpoint that we can get reimbursement. We can include it within the CARES Act funding as long as our expenditure was made during that time period. Some of the outside expenditures, it's not as clear as to whether we have to have cut the check by December 31st or they incurred the expense. So those are some of the program issues that we're trying to get clarification on, but Aubrey's preparing a plan that we will communicate that'll then outline when we have to close down the program in order to be able to close it out and have the accountability and by the end of the year. And she's working on that right now.
Okay. And then of course, if we get fortunate enough to extend it or that it is extended, then those programs at different vantage points will probably be reopened or whatever. So we'll just have to play that by ear as time goes along. Thank you. Go ahead, Audrey.
Yep. Right now we're preparing as if it's not going to get extended because we have to be prepared for that eventuality. And just one quick note, because I know it's something that gets thrown around a lot. The deadline for Treasury for the CARES funding is December 30th and not 31st. So just make sure that we're all clear on that. So thank you. That was good questions. And yes, that's the next step here and what we're working on. So this gives you a summary of each of the programs. For the local business grants, I did just want to orient you, just like the summaries and updates you've seen previously. This consolidates the reporting for both the new local business grant programs and the original small business program that is closed. Detailed figures are on that local business grant program page. Our workforce reemployment and training program should be launching in the next week or so. So we'll keep this website updated each week with any additional updates and keep you all posted on when that will be launching. The other piece that's reflected in here, and it's because these charges have just started coming in for the county, is the third-party administration of Pinellas CARES programs. So for our second round of programs, some of these we did engage third parties, whether that's Pinellas Community Foundation doing the nonprofit partnership fund, or private vendors who are helping us with the local business grant program. Those partners paying them for their services, and from a transparency perspective, we wanted to make sure that that was clear on the website where those costs are hitting. And then our COVID-19 mitigation and response. These are a little bit distinct from the community grant program. So again, you're not going to see applications here. These tend to be more contractual or us buying goods and services. So those costs and amounts are reflected there.
These are the ones that we've.
And down at the bottom here is a subtotal for all of the Pinellas CARES program costs to date. Now, this is, just to be clear, this is actual spending and awards reported by the granting agencies. So this figure is not including any contractual commitments that we do already have on the books. Then next up, after we leave the CARES programs, are other externally funded direct expenses. So there's been a number of federal and state grant programs associated with coronavirus. So we've tried to summarize those other funding sources that are coming in, both how much has been awarded to the county and what costs have been reflected on those grants. So this is a summary of each of those funding sources and a brief description of what those grants are helping to support. And you can see here, there's a lot of complexity in the mix of funding sources associated with this emergency event. We also have reflected here some local funding sources. So the Tampa Bay Resiliency Fund grant that helps support COVID-19 homeless response, hygiene kits that have been supported by local donations, and then some other state and federal grant funds that have been awarded, but whose funds have not yet been expended or reflected on our general ledger accounts. And then finally, here on other direct expenses, these are some of the expenses that Barry was referencing in his opening comments that we haven't assigned to a specific funding source, but we are tracking that they're COVID related. Staff are going through right now and categorizing these expenditures for purposes of submitting our county FEMA reimbursement for public assistance. So additional detail will be added here over time as we engage with you all on policy decisions on where these charges get allocated eventually. But for now, we wanted to reflect these charges that they are COVID related. And then at the very bottom here is a COVID-19 expenditure summary by project. And these are the actual internal reports that show the individual projects, which is how we track the costs related to COVID.
So that'll provide all the details supporting the roll up of the dollars that you see on the first page.
Yeah.
Just a couple of additional, comments. Early on in this process, commissioners directed us to provide the maximum amount available to businesses and individuals, and so we tried to reflect that. Aubrey put on a training session, or had a consultant put on a training session with our cities a week or two ago. And that really is to show how we can maximize the dollars by using FEMA reimbursement. And then we're covering the 12.5% local match for the cities. If at the end, so that way they can classify their cost associated with the FEMA reimbursement. If we have funds available, we can provide a direct reimbursement out of CARES. But we didn't want to do that until we see the amount of draw from the individual and business programs. So as we get over the next month and a half, then we're going to have to make some decisions regarding how we classify those dollars. I took that to the city managers early on. They agreed with that. Not everybody agreed with that, but for the most part, everybody agreed that that's a good direction because it maximizes the dollars that we expend, and then they're getting fully reimbursed either way. So that's something that we're going to have to make some decisions on as we see the total draw from the various programs that she just outlined. We've done the same thing for us. So for instance, all of our costs associated with that, we're not reimbursing ourselves. We're only treating ourselves as we've done with the cities, and we'll decide whether we go out for FEMA reimbursement of those costs or whether we provide a direct reimbursement out of CARES, depending upon the utilization of all the individual programs that support our businesses and our families first. And so that's the approach we've taken to this. The reason some of these have taken time is, for instance, the training program on the FEMA reimbursement. We have to have agreements with the cities in order to be able to provide that. So there's some contractual issues that have taken some time, but for the most part, it's up and running, and we're really getting the draw now. And so you'll see these programs executed over the, well, already started, but you'll see it really close out the next, 30, 45 days.
Yeah, thank you, Aubrey. We have pushed staff, and when you look at numbers, say 17 million has gone to businesses, and we kind of had 48 million in mind. So, we've some of us have been like, well, we need to get that out more. We need to educate more. We need to get communication out more. All along, at the same time, we have to be very careful that we're doing it the right way, because at the end of it, people come to us and ask, are you guys accounting for the use of federal tax dollars, right? And so there's a real balance in trying to push as much as we can to our businesses and individuals that need it. I know we've improved that as we've gone. It seems like we're still at 17 of 48. I don't know what that issue is, but gosh, I wish we could get more. But on the other hand, again, like we're saying, we have to make sure that we do it the right way so that we can that everything is accounted for. So it's a tough thing, as we know there are businesses out there. I've said that there are businesses that started since October 1 and that are still in business that should be able to qualify. They have not been able to apply yet. And for me, maybe there's a federal thing that says we can't do that versus a local decision, but I know there are businesses and they've been hurting. They hung in there, they struggled. But yet, again, I know we've opened it up more and more, but I think, we don't have a lot of time left. And yet we still have needs out there. So again, I know it's a tough one. So,
yeah, Commissioner, we've pushed this out. Marketing communications, Aubrey, economic development. We pushed this out through every channel possible. They have done significant community outreach. We have our community navigators on the individual side, really getting down the community and talking about the need. There still continues to be, issues of communication and confusion regarding different programs, federal programs and things like that. But they have, staff has really ramped up the outreach and communication. And to your point, you're exactly right. We have to have documentation. This is an audit process to where we have to be able to account for that the payment was made as a direct result of COVID impacts. And so there are some specific requirements that we need to have as part of that process, but we have tried to make that as easy and simple, as absolutely possible. And as you saw on the individual side, you just have to attest to it. And so I don't think we could have made it any simpler, but yeah, we're continuing to push it out. We will not stop until the dollars are spent.
yeah.
And just,
Okay.
I did want to mention briefly, because Barry mentioned the navigators on the individual side. Economic development is now weekly. On Wednesdays, they meet with navigators on the business side, talk to them about what kinds of things they're hearing from businesses, what concerns they have, and then we're continuing to look closely. And I can tell you, all the staff working on it, including our partners, are very much have in mind how to strike that balance between making sure that we're doing our due diligence, complying with all of the requirements, but also getting help to people who need it and who meet the eligibility requirements.
Barry, on that point though, what is the thinking? And again, if you don't have it today, that's fine. Or about October 1, why is that such a critical date in this process, and why can't it be businesses that have opened up since then? I mean, we've got the funding for it. We've got businesses that were in business before COVID. They're still in business and they've struggled and they need help too. And, so I would certainly like to at least have that consideration again, just your comments.
So, and let me just, there are a number of things that we put together the best program we could, but there are issues that have been raised in terms of nonprofits that we didn't think of, other entities that hadn't necessarily come forward. So, Aubrey and I, we have a list of things like that. As this program rolls out and we get to October and we can kind of forecast the amount of dollars spent, we need to revisit. And so we're certainly open to do that. We accounted for the $170 million by the program outlines that was approved. However, as we're seeing, there may be areas where the full amount of those dollars are not utilized, and we can try to help other areas that weren't included within that original program. We're prepared to do that. And so we're going to have to make some decisions pretty quickly, especially if that deadline doesn't get extended. But we're trying to listen and hear so we can refine our program as we go along on this.
Yeah, you just have, like you say, you don't have much time. And if we're going to make November 1 as an arbitrary date, and I'm just mentioning as the cutoff date, we only have 3 or 4 weeks now. And so, and those businesses, if they can get their application in this month and get in the queue so they can be dealt with over the ensuing 2 months, I think it would be immensely helpful.
And we have a list of businesses that didn't qualify. And so those would be the first thing. We already know, who a lot of those are, but you're right. There may be others that didn't because they read the program guidelines. So that's something that we can revisit as we go along. But there are several others too that have come up that, we just weren't included within the original amount. And we're prepared to revisit that and look at it.
One of the things that marketing communications and also our community partners have been really trying to help with is making sure that businesses aren't self-selecting out of the process and assuming that they're not going to be eligible because they haven't been eligible for other programs. So if anyone has a question or a business reaches out to one of you directly and says, I need help, please encourage them to go to the website. We have a phone number posted that they can call to ask questions. We have navigators' contact information listed so that they can call and talk to someone and ask, am I eligible? Is this worth my time? Be able to start the process, but don't just assume that you're not eligible and not look into it.
Commissioner Wells, I know had a question.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to get this panel off the screen. Aubrey and team, great job on the website. I'm sure we all go through it in detail. I would like to ask, Barry and Jewel, however it makes sense, just to help me understand where we are. And not today, maybe you can do a memo, but on evictions, I want to understand, the governor had an order that expired, but the CARES Act has some protections in it through year end. So I want to better understand where we are on evictions in the county, and also what buckets we have. We had the individual and family support for utilities and rent. And then on the webpage, you've got $30 million in a nonprofit partnership bucket that has some eviction support in it. So what are the buckets that we have for eviction and foreclosure support? And then the last question is, what partners are we working with? It seems like we were working with Gulf Coast, but are we working with them on evictions? Okay.
Providing funding for them to assist families that are impacted by COVID.
Okay.
But Aubrey can talk to that. I'll obviously defer to Jewel regarding the legal issues associated with any extensions and how the COVID dollars impact that.
Okay.
Yep. So there's 3 primary buckets that would support eviction support or protection. One, as you mentioned, the individual and family financial assistance, which provides assistance, just for anyone who's not familiar with the program who may be listening, with rent, mortgage, and utility payments that are overdue, and that provides payment to the vendor to protect someone's home, security in their household. We also have, now that program, that individual and family financial assistance, is limited up to $5,000 in benefit. For those that exceed that amount, there is a state-funded program that we'll be launching shortly, and that information is on the website as well.
And Aubrey, does that still have the income limit on it?
It has income limitations. It is a state designed program, so it is much more structured. Is a very different program than our individual and family financial assistance.
I think Commissioner was talking about our program.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, our program is just they have to have lost their job or income due to COVID. There's not an income level requirement. And then as you mentioned, the nonprofit partnership fund that's being administered by the Pinellas Community Foundation. One of the priority areas that the commission identified for those funds to help support was eviction protection. I haven't included the detail on the webpage, but we do link to Pinellas Community Foundation's webpage, and they have all of the detail on the breakdowns of how much funds have gone to which priority areas, including eviction protection, and which partners have been funded, including their full grant application that talks about what they're using the funds for. So that is really an excellent resource that Pinellas Community Foundation has put out there as our partner administering that program.
Okay. And then on the protections, Jewel, is it something that's simple to explain? The CARES Act protections versus the governor's, which expired? And
I think what I would like to do, Commissioner, is take a look at both of those so that we can get you a good answer. And what we'll do is compare the state one with the orders that have come out at the federal level, and we'll send information out to all 7 of the commissioners.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? I can't see everybody, but I don't see any hands waving. Do you see anybody, Brian, that I'm missing?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, well, Aubrey, thank you. I know you're doing yeoman's work or yeoman's work. I really appreciate everything that's going on. And I know folks are frustrated, and we're doing our best. I'm glad that we're going to stay open-minded, at least in the next week or 2, because we don't have that much time on some additional asks. I do know that, I had at least 3 people that called me about, there were businesses started after October 1. And when they saw that was there, they didn't even bother. So there's no reason to call if it says so that was one that was pretty clear cut. I don't know if that number is that high, but new businesses are certainly very vulnerable. I'm guessing many of them didn't make it. And so, which is extremely sad. A lot of lifetime planning and dreaming and monies go into these businesses. And so whatever we can do to expand that in the next few weeks, I think would be helpful to those that are still in business, obviously. But
Sure.
okay. All right, we're going to move it. And our last item is just a briefing, Barry. So
All right, we'll start off. So first, I appreciate everybody's patience. We received notice late after normal business hours that a virtual meeting was extended. Their allowance for a virtual meeting was extended. I got with Commissioner Gerard and we agreed to keep this virtual. Part of the reason for doing that is because we have some public hearings that we had planned for and we advertised as virtual. And so if we were actually going to have to take them off, and because of some notice periods, you know, one of them would have been a month away. So it was better to keep it virtual. We just didn't know if we were going to be able to do that or not. The governor's extension allowed us to do that. So appreciate everybody's patience on that. Going to the agenda, the first item is a countywide map amendment from very low residential to rural. This is the East Lake tarpon issue that we've been discussing for some time now. And as you see, Forward Pinellas and Planners Advisory Committee both recommended unanimously for approval.
On that one, Barry, MPO, I don't believe that was unanimous. I think it was 10-2 or 11-2.
Was it? Oh, I've got it. Oh, okay. I'll have to change your bullets. It says unanimously on my sheet. So.
Yeah, there was 2 folks on our board that voted against that.
Okay. The next item is the downtown Palm Harbor. It's our map amendment. So we changed the center of the downtown to comport with that. There's been plenty of public input. Changes the way in which people can develop it. This will go along with the form-based code and really allows for development of a downtown in an urban setting. So they're bringing this forward for your consideration. The next item is a map amendment from public, semi-public to retail in the city of Largo, 4.36 acres. This is, it'll restrict the type of development to a specific area, but it's considered it's an existing church that they want to change. It's both recommended unanimously for approval. Next, we have a resolution approving the use of state uniform non-ad collection method. Okay, so this is for the Grand Canal, but it's really for any way in which we use assessments. And so this is for the Grand Canal. It allows some flexibility in terms of the way in which we do assessments for projects like this. So this will set us up for being able to do a collection method for the dredging and maintenance of a Grand Canal. The next item, public comment. You have items from the circuit of the court clerk for filing and that you also have number 10 is the ranking of firms for engineering and inspection consultant services for projects. The next is ranking of firms with Beck Architecture. This is for the Tampa Bay Innovation Center that I've discussed with each of you as it moves forward. We have county attorneys.
Under item number 12, this is a lawsuit we've been served with. This is a trip and fall incident on a sidewalk in Treasure Island. 13, also a negligence lawsuit. This involves an auto accident with a vehicle a county employee was driving. And item number 14 is a lawsuit that arose that has been filed against us by a detainee at the Pinellas County Jail alleging civil rights violations.
Item number 15 is a map amendment by the City of Safety Harbor. The majority of the 30 acres, 25 acres is upland acres. This will, the remaining 4.7 acres is designated preservation. So there's small changes associated with this, really 0.104 acres. For Pinellas and Planners Advisory Council, each recommended unanimously for approval. Then item 16 is your local state of emergency for the extension of that. Item 17 is the designation of job titles for code enforcement officers. This is a statutory requirement. And so you have to actually designate the job titles for them to be able to do the enforcement. Item number 18 is an extension of the Pinellas County Technical Rescue Team Agreement with the cities of Clearwater, Largo, Pinellas Park, and St. Petersburg. Questions on that? Item number 19 is a purchase authorization with Level 3 Telecom Holdings for IT equipment, software, and services.
Hey, Barry,
Yes.
on that 911 issue that we had earlier in the week, has there been any feedback as to nationally or locally what happened? Or, I mean, not that you can get into details if you know, but I just was curious if we had a handle on that yet.
Well, let me get have staff provide that on Tuesday.
Okay.
It was a national issue, so it was a communication thing, but it didn't apply to all telecom services. So it may have happened to one company, but not to Verizon, for instance. And so a lot of people could still get through, but supposedly some were not. But rather than me give you something that isn't coherent, let me get staff to give you a very specific area. So as you know, we were back up in about 20 minutes. But just so you know, their backup plans worked, right? They coordinated with St. Petersburg. That's our backup site. They transferred the calls. They were having the same issue though. At the same time, it come up and they said, no, we're up and we're operating. They transferred them back. So it worked pretty seamlessly in terms of the inter-jurisdictional coordination. However, it was a national issue in terms of getting through. So
we haven't gotten any feedback locally from anybody that it affected.
I did nothing that made it to my level. But let me get a report for you on that. And Lourdes is listening, so I asked her to prepare something that we can then provide on Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 20 is amendment to the Emergency Medical Services Advanced Life Support First Responder Agreement with the City of St. Petersburg. This is a minor change. This just changes the types of units that they have for two existing coverage levels and shifts it to civilian paramedic staffing.
Mr. Chairman, I think you have Commissioner Peters and Commissioner Welch with their hands up.
And Brian,
I looked down for a second and I raised my head and there's two hands going up. I apologize, you guys. Sorry about that. Commissioner Peters, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a couple questions, Barry.
Promote Lourdes if you would, Brian, so she can participate in this.
Okay, so this is for Lourdes then?
Well, yeah, she's going to be better able to answer directly. So she did brief me on it, but I'll let her answer.
Well, I'll wait till she's on.
You should be here momentarily. Hey, Lourdes.
Is she there?
Yeah, she's here, Commissioner Peters.
Okay, great. Hi, Lourdes. And thank you for the work you did the other day with the hospital. I appreciate it. Sure. So I got a question. I got a couple questions for you. So why does St. Pete need to increase their costs? Do the other fire departments need to too? It looks like a $30,000 cost increase.
Yeah, I'm not getting this as a cost increase. They are hiring civilians instead of certified fire paramedics. So they're a little less expensive. And with that, they can add another medic unit.
Okay.
And others can do the same if they wish to do that.
Okay, I guess maybe offline I'd like to get a little more information on that because that just off of what you said concerns me. So if that's okay. But I read this as a $30,000 increase, and I just want to make sure it wasn't going to be on every single one. The other question is, what is contractor held EMS funds? Do all fire departments operate that way with EMS funds? What is that? I don't recall ever hearing that when I was the mayor and really involved in fire back then.
Yeah, they did get some funds in the fiscal 21 budget, and they have up to 230,000 a piece for the response vehicles, and they can do.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead and finish.
I mean, that's about it. I think you have a follow-up.
Okay, so every fire department got that money in a EMS fund?
I'd have to look to see if this year everyone got it or if it was just St. Pete.
Okay, I'd like to have that information too, at least before our meeting. And then does the contract amendment outline that in 5 years, the fire truck has to the fire department has to disclose whether they're replacing the whole truck or just a chassis? Is there, are we just going to give them more money to replace that and not know if they're just doing the chassis, if it's a box that can be, reused?
Yeah, it was my understanding that it's a box that can be reused, and over time, this would be a cost savings.
Right, but does the contract specifically state that they have to say what they're replacing, that they're replacing just the chassis? I mean, I'm just talking about accountability here and transparency, and is it stated in there that it must be, or they must disclose what it is they're replacing? Because if all the departments have the reusable box, I believe. And so I just want to make sure that when they get the money to replace it, that they're actually just replacing the chassis and not wanting a bigger whatever, bigger, better.
All right, I understand the question, and we'll get back with you on it.
So we'll do two things. One, we'll provide you a written response to the questions, okay? And then we'll have Jim on Tuesday, and that way you can ask him directly.
Okay, but I'm really interested in that whole civilian thing, and if St. Pete is actually getting a $30,000 increase, because that's the way I interpreted it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Peters. Commissioner Welch, did you have something?
Yeah, my question was on the civilian paramedic staffing model as well. Do any other cities utilize that? Would like just a preview on that, what it means, because if that's implemented countywide, it could have a real impact, and that's a concept I've never heard of before. So do any other of the contractors use that? How does the model work? Because they were able to fund a brand new unit just by swapping out two paramedics. So I'd like more information on that on Tuesday.
Okay, sure. I know that others do, is what
They do?
Jim and I talked about.
Okay.
Which ones?
Okay.
That when we do the memo.
All right. Thank you.
Anybody else that I may have missed? Sorry about that. Okay.
So we'll do a follow-up on that, and then both in writing, and then be prepared to answer your questions more fully on Tuesday.
Okay, Jewel, you're up.
So items number 21 and 22 are both settlements. So those are confidential matters. I will give each of you a call before the meeting on Tuesday. And under 23, I currently have no reports.
Okay.
Okay, 24, I will have a county administrator's report. 25 is appointments to the construction licensing board. And this is one appointment for the South County building official. And then the new business will be my annual performance evaluation. Uh-oh.
All right. Should we take shots now or wait? No, kidding. Commissioner Long.
I can't take it twice. So.
Commissioner Long, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Since it looks like we are getting ready to finish up, I wonder if you would allow me a few minutes of privilege to show you all, when we talk about public transportation in this county, how much of it there really is, because both on Forward Pinellas and at PSTA, we usually just focus on the primary routes. But I'd like Brian to pull up this visual that we saw yesterday that just blew me away. If you ever want to know what 4,200 bus stops and shelters looks like in our county, take a look at this and tell me if you don't think that's pretty awesome.
How many of them are covered? I'm just kidding.
Oh, I don't know, for heaven's sakes. I just wanted to show you the visual because I was so impressed by that, given the budget constraints that we've been under, et cetera, et cetera. Come on, you got to say it's a really impressive, I think. And
it's
Ken
really-
is laughing. You were there.
I'm laughing because I want to harass the chairman and tell him we do have, what, 2 new electric buses. I don't know if you told him.
Oh, I did not.
I knew you
may-
want to know that, Dave.
Whether I was on the board or not, you were making that progress. Anyway, yeah, if anybody else has any comments about, some of the boards they sit on, we kind of gotten away from that. The only thing I wanted to mention briefly was that Tampa Bay Water, we've had, an interesting year like everybody else. And in September, we had one of our first of 3 workshops to discuss kind of the future of Tampa Bay Water as it relates to our 6-member governments and issues that have been bubbling beneath the surface. And we had a nice kind of soft first one. And then yesterday we got into it a little bit more explicitly so that we could try to get some of these feelings out on the table, which I think we did. I think it's been extremely productive. There's still issues that we're working through, and we'll have a 3rd workshop at the end of this month. So we haven't had a workshop in a long time. We haven't had direct access from our utility directors to the Tampa Bay Water Board before. And so we've opened all of that up this year. So our utility departments are having a direct presentation on the state of water within each of their own groups. And at the same time, being able to talk a little bit about the issues that are facing them. So I think that's been good. I think these workshops have been very healthy. We'll have another one, and in the effort of trying to continue dealing with some of the critical issues that we're seeing going forward, we're going to go from every other month meeting to a monthly meeting at Tampa Bay Water in 2021. And they may be shorter meetings, but I think it's really important that we don't have 60-day lapses. And I've not been shy to share my concerns with the leadership of Tampa Bay Water, and we'll continue scrutinizing that over the next month or two. But everything is going pretty well. I think the workshops were very healthy and good. So that's all I have from my end. Commissioner Long. Commissioner Long.
I think she
Yes,
did.
thanks, Mr. Chair. I had 2 more things I wanted to share.
Oh, sorry about that.
Can you hear
Janet.
me?
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah.
You froze for a second, Commissioner Long. You're okay.
Oh, okay. Well, you've been frozen most of the meeting, Mr. Chair. Your face hasn't moved, just so you know.
Just so you.
Anyway, I wanted to
Commissioner-
share 2 more things, and I wanted to.
Commissioner, when everybody
What?
else is frozen, remember you may be the only one that is frozen. So I've been here at the count. Go ahead, Janet.
Thank you so much. I wanted to thank Commissioner Seal for sharing with us the evaluation for Beth Houghton and how much I enjoyed that. And I don't know if there's anything else she wants to share about it, but I think it speaks highly of the work going on at the Juvenile Welfare Board. And I also wanted to thank Commissioner Peters for the work that she's been doing with the YAC group, because you may remember that incredible young man that spoke to us who is getting ready to graduate this year, or whenever they have their next graduation. He's a senior at Clearwater Central Catholic High School. Do you remember him, Kathleen? He is presenting tonight at the Clearwater Central's board meeting, and I'm just so excited to see him again and see how he does. He's going to talk all about the things he's learned about Pinellas County government, and I thought that was really going to be an impressive thing for him to share with the rest of our board members. So thank you, Commissioner Peters. Great job. Who knows? He'll probably be a future county administrator. You never know. Just kidding, Barry, but not really.
Just give me another year.
Okay, that's all I had to say, Commissioner, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Anybody else with any comments? Commissioner Seal.
Thank you, Commissioner Long, for mentioning the JWB report. I wanted you all to see the update and, you know, everything that they are doing. Beth's doing a great job. I'm also going to send you some information. Bill Cronin from the Pasco County EDC called me the other day about a Hillsborough and Pasco campaign on human trafficking. So I will send you a summary of my conversation with him and what the ask is about. So it doesn't involve any dollars on our end, but it involves getting engaged in a human trafficking campaign.
That's great. Awesome.
Okay. I'll send you that today.
Okay. Commissioner Long?
Yes, thank you for mentioning that, Commissioner Seal, because I received a call about 2 weeks ago from Mayor Hibbard's wife, Teresa, who is very interested in working to establish a group here in Pinellas County to do exactly the same thing that it sounds like they're trying to do in Pasco and Hillsborough. And so I'd be very in favor of trying to work on something like that. And she was talking about a human trafficking commission. And Charlie, you may remember, and I don't know, Kathleen, if you were in the legislature when Senator Sachs was in the legislature, but she was very involved, not only in Florida, but around the world really on this issue, and was part of an international group working on the same focus. So if there's a willingness of the members, I'd really like to see us move forward on that in a very big way. I was just trying to wait until after Election Day to bring it up, but since you did, Commissioner Seal, I'd like to support that effort 100%. Thank you. Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Seal.
And that's something that we could discuss at a later date, but currently both Pasco and Hillsborough have a commission in different structures of citizen group, business community being involved with human trafficking. So they have an official body in both groups, in both counties. So it might be something we want to consider, but I thought, you know, we'll go step by step. And
well,
again,
I agree with the step by step, except the whole focus for trying to do it and not take a year or two to put it in place is to be ready for the Super Bowl in Tampa.
Well, that's what I was going to give you a summary of. That's basically what they're asking us to do, is to get involved with a PR campaign centered around the Super Bowl timing. So, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Justice, did I see your hand?
Yes, sir. Since the topic was brought up, I wanted to share with you, I was at the Florida Dream Center last week, and one of their board members, Brian Robinson, who works for, I believe it's the Swiss Bank, and he's a board member at the Dream Center, was chosen by the organization Invest in Others, and it was a global competition for nonprofit board members and volunteers all over the world submitted their applications, and Invest in Others selected the Dream Center's Brian Robinson for the support and the work that they're doing with human trafficking. And he got a $45,000 grant for the Dream Center to continue their good work. So since the topic came up, I wanted to share that good news.
Thank you, Commissioner Justice. Anybody else? Barry, just before we finish the meeting, maybe you could just give, we've been extending the state of emergency during meetings, and people get a feeling, understanding at least why we're doing it, whether they agree or not with the rationale behind it. And since we've given that to you to do, any thoughts that you can pass along as to your rationale for continuing other than the governor still has his state of emergency in place, and we are, kind of following that for now. But if you could, just a couple brief comments on that.
Well, there's two pieces to the state of emergency, and they're separate and distinct. They're tied together, but they're separate and distinct. And those are we must have a state of emergency in order to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement. Now, that said, it is tied to the two local requirements we have, which is that at a bar to be served, you need to be in a seat. And then the other being the face coverings for indoor facilities. I've extended it this week because I see no change. We are seeing, positive numbers. We're low, but we have seen an uptick in schools, small, but it's still there. So there's a real question regarding, what is driving, the future and what's going to occur now that we've opened the economy up even more. I think there's a fundamental disagreement, and it should be able to be just a disagreement regarding whether or not face masks work. Well, the schools have had low numbers, but they require face coverings. And so the question, is if we take off too much, if we take away that requirement, what will occur as a result? This next Monday, I have a meeting between the health directors of both Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas, along with the county administrators of our three counties, to discuss this topic. Everybody's got their experts that they kind of depend on. I look at Dr. Fauci and Dr. Redcliffe, or from the CDC regarding their comments, and they support face coverings as a way of managing through this pandemic. Others disagree with that. I do understand that. I don't have a dog in this fight. It's certainly not political for me, but I'm looking at the best way to try to manage in a very difficult time. And so from my perspective, this is working. What would be the conditions? And I do say conditions versus numbers that would cause us to act differently on the requirements that we have. And we're continuing to have those discussions, and we're going to discuss it as a region. I do understand that there are some, as a result of the governor's orders, that have changed that requirement. Manatee, just did. Part of that reason was they did not have a business. They focused on individuals for penalties, not on businesses. Ours included both. So we've simply said that we're going to, and by the way, we've never cited an individual. St. Pete cited some businesses, not individuals. It's never been about trying to cite someone or cause a penalty. It's just trying to get compliance. And I think in large part that has worked. It has been a communication issue in terms of if somebody self-exempt themselves out, which is our allowance within our requirement, our ordinance, versus a business requirement that says anybody that comes in. Two separate issues, but that continues to be a challenge. I see this as we need to have these discussions. I'm trying to have that on a regional basis. Manatee did change, but 21 of the area counties across the state still have had that in. There's about 2 or 3 that have changed. I'm sure there may be a couple others, but the vast majority of the urban areas have face covering requirements. So I'm going to continue to try to provide you the best information. I'm going to converse with my colleagues for the region to where we can have a meaningful conversation as this goes forward. As you saw, it's on for your approval next Tuesday. That would be for the following week, so we can continue to have that dialogue.
Well, thank you, Barry. I appreciate that, and I think it's healthy to get that input from folks like Manatee County, Sarasota County. They've gone a different direction, and the rationale behind it and the results that they're seeing in an effort to be, again, I think we have tried to be all along to try to be transparent, and the rationale doesn't always come down to exact numbers and such. The only other thing that, again, as a closing comment would be that on Tuesday, we had talked way back in June when we put the ordinance in place that we start, I was thinking of something in between where we would create safe zones like drugstores and grocery stores that are absolute mandatory that everybody must go to. The hardware stores could be argued as well. so that we start to consolidate those areas where folks just they don't have a choice. I mean, somebody can say, well, they could order their groceries at home. Well, healthy folks can order their groceries at home too. So take that out of the equation, but there are folks that want to get out there. So again, I'm not saying that that's a direction that we can go, even if we wanted to on Tuesday, but it's just, again, trying to evolve as we move forward, keeping that in the back of our minds. So with that said, I don't see any other discussion for any individual groups or any individual boards that you sit on. So, well, we are officially adjourned. Thank you.